And good morning, my beautiful America. Welcome back to the All American Book Club. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special treat for you as we're in the last part of June, focusing on food and faith. Yes, we started off with ice cream and we started off with cupcakes, but now we are focusing on romance, Christian suspense, and a very powerful author who is now the first time coming to the show, Tracie Peterson. She's a best-selling author of more than 100 novels. Actually, I think she just said a higher number, both historical and contemporary, with more than 6 million copies sold. And the book we're going to be talking about today is called Unexpected Grace, with co-author Kimberley Woodhouse, who you guys all know, who's been to the show many times. So Tracie, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here. I'm just really excited.
Well, I see that you do have Unexpected Grace behind you. So I do want to talk about the book series, and I do want to talk about the final installment, as we've been promoting it here for the summer read list here at the All American Book Club. But I also just want to introduce you to our audience. This is your first time here at the All American Book Club. So I'd love to hear about
Oh,
your journey and what got you on writing. And the number that is printed is not the number that you just told me. So let's talk about that. Go ahead.
sure, sure. Well, all my life I've loved to read, and so I'm an avid reader first and foremost. And I think that a lot of times people forget that, reading is such a critical part of being a good writer. And as a little child, my mother I credit her fully with developing the storyteller in me because as a child she'd give me a piece of paper and a pencil and keep me quiet in church. And she'd tell me, write me a story. And so I would sit there and fiddle around and play in church. But here was the smart part. After church, she would take me aside and say, tell me your story. What did
Mhm.
you write about? And so I knew I had her undivided attention. And of course,
Yeah.
that's every child's goal, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so I credit her and just, love the fact that she gave me such a passion for story. And, as I grew up, the library was the place I wanted to be. I was a voracious reader, wanted to write and tell stories about everything. Writing themes and things like that was absolutely my favorite thing in school. But when I got to high school, you had to apply for creative writing. And I wrote my essay and applied, and the teacher rejected me, saying that I didn't show enough creativity or imagination. And I often say if she were alive today, she'd get one of each and every one of my books, and
Yeah.
just to show her I developed that creativity and imagination. But
Yeah.
I tell that story in the fact that I don't have a college degree because I
Mhm.
want people to know this is a gift that God has given me. I don't claim it for as anything of myself. And so it's a passion of mine. Writing is a ministry for me. I love sharing the gospel and biblical
Mhm.
application and just you know, really enjoy what I do. Both are important. I love learning. I t
Yes.
My husband and I make it a goal to learn something new every day. And
Yeah.
so that's always important to me, even if it's just some little insignificant thing,
Yeah.
because, to me that's just a part of life going on as it
It
should.
is. It is, yeah. No, absolutely. Boy, I could go down a whole rabbit trail with you from a Christian education to public school and everything in between, because I
There
have
you
so many thoughts on that. But we will
go.
hold that for today. We'll do another one. We'll bring Kim.
Okay. Okay.
We'll do a soapbox separate on that one. So I want to talk about the just amazing book series of the Kalispell series. I'm probably not saying Kalispell properly, but
No,
I
that's it.
is that
That's it.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
And I fell in love with the first book, and my husband and I were on vacation, and I said, shoo, let me finish this. I got it done in less than a day. It was just such an amazing read. And just giving you a little background about me, my father really had inspired me on my reading journey, on my education journey. And my husband will firsthand experience tell you he doesn't see me without a book in a hand. And
Uh,
it's like, and he's like, what are you reading? I'm like, a book. He's like, no kidding. So what are you reading? But my
yes.
point in saying that is there's something about the escape. the distraction, the knowledge and the excitement that you bring to the table, and that I found in this series, and unexpected grace. Oh my word. It was just an amazing, beautiful love story of bringing two people back together, redemption, all of those different aspects. So, without giving too much away, for those who haven't read the series, I'm going to give it all away. But, let's talk about redemption. Let's talk about the hope and that faith component that you
Oh,
thread through
absolutely.
the characters. And then we'll talk a little bit about the suspense and the mayhem.
Well, as you said, it's a, for me, it's a story about second chances.
Mhm.
And second chances are all about what God gives us. And so being able to portray that in a love story or a relational story, I think that second chance stories are often just so sweet and really give us, a sense of overcoming
Mhm.
bad things in life and whatnot. And in this story, we've got Johanna St. John, she and Parker Bennett, and they grew up together. They fell in love. They felt confident that they were meant for each other.
Yeah.
And Johanna believed firmly that God wanted her to marry a preacher. And like, this is a amusing side note. I keep wanting to call him Peter, and I think it's because of Peter Parker. But Spider-Man can,
Yeah.
just needs to stay
Yeah.
out of this story. But Parker thought for a while that God was calling him to be a minister, but then he gets a different direction. And he believes that he's to become an actor, which in those days didn't, people didn't think a whole lot of the people that became actors and actresses.
Yeah.
And so
You're
he
right.
takes on this role and becomes really good at it, but he sees it as a way to share the gospel from the stage and amongst the actors and actresses that he interacts with. And Johanna doesn't see her life going in that direction, so she ends the relationship. And years later, then, after she has married a minister and had a child and has become a widow, Parker comes back into her life.
Yeah.
And so here we go. What do we do with this? And how does this part of what God wants for me and so forth? And as you mentioned, it's set in Kalispell, Montana, which is gorgeous, gorgeous country up there by Glacier National Park. And
Mm.
Kim and I, when we started, decided we wanted to kind of focus in on special buildings or landmarks there
Love
in
that.
Kalispell.
Yes.
And so the first book in the series, it was the Carnegie Library. The
Mhm.
second book
Yep.
was the train depot. And now this book, it's the Macintosh Opera House. And
Mm.
it's still there, although it's not open to the public. But the Macintosh Opera House was a huge deal for
Mhm.
Kalispell, and a lot of little towns would have theaters and opera houses, and
Right.
you wouldn't necessarily think that they
Yeah.
would, but that was a big deal, and they didn't have the forms of entertainment, obviously, that we have here now. But a troupe would come into town, perhaps, and perform, for a few weeks or whatever, and then take off again, or maybe just even be there one night. And
Mhm.
so this was a big deal, and so when Parker's troupe comes to town to
Mhm.
perform Uncle Tom's Cabin,
Yeah.
it's a big deal. And they joked about, Kim had read me a passage of how it said that, there were people standing in the windowsills and hanging from the chandeliers
Yes, I remember seeing that, reading that.
to watch this presentation. So uh it made for a really interesting setting though, and we really had a lot of fun researching and just, you know, seeing what we could come up with for the twists and turns in the story. So of course we had to have a wonderful evil villain.
Oh, of
Kim
course.
is remarkable with her villains. I love her villains. They're always so good.
I have a comment on that really quickly. So, as my father and I were comparing notes on this series, he was like, "What's with the villains? These are driving me nuts." And I said, "I know where that is coming from." I said, "That is
Yeah,
him." So she's not here to defend herself, but you just nailed it. I knew
yes.
it was her.
She, I get joked about, or, I often get called the queen of historical Christian fiction. I joke about Kim being the queen of villains.
Yeah. Yes,
She does
absolutely.
them well.
She does. She does. So let me ask you, I want to hear, just really briefly. One, I love the threaded historical pieces in your books. I mean, I love the fact that we have such rich American history.
We do.
And I think it's lacking in our schools, and I think that the more we can talk about it,
Oh, yeah.
educate, to hear about that rich American history. It increases patriotism. It increases excitement for, what was behind and how we can implement it today. But with that said, I also want to I love how God has brought you and Kim together and how he has married you guys with this opportunity to write these powerful books that focus on our American history, but also focus on the power of faith. I'm curious, how did this really come to be for you two? How did you guys meet? Who did this? Who did this? There's got to be a story here, and it may include sparkly shoes, but I don't know. So go ahead.
Oh, well, actually, a long time ago, seems like in the dinosaur days, but it really wasn't. I was the managing editor for Heart Song Presents, and the Barber Publishing Company subcontracted that out to me, and I
Mhm.
hired my husband and my daughter and a gal from church, and we ran that book line. And in that, I would get, all the acquisitions and whatnot. Well, Kim sent me a fan letter
Mhm.
to begin with. And I try to answer all my fan letters, so I sent her a letter back, and she had mentioned that she was interested in writing and whatnot. And I get a lot of that from readers, and I love it. And I will advise if they ask for advice and offer thoughts about how they can move forward. And with Kim, I don't remember exactly what was said, but there was that thread of interest. And then I think it was a couple of years later, she actually submitted something and started talking about wanting to publish. And we started talking, and it was funny because as the years went by, we had so much in common. Here she was doing mission work out in Alaska, and,
Right.
and you know, it was amazing to me. And I had a fascination with books that I was setting in Alaska and wanted to continue to pursue that location. So she was fun to talk to about those things. But we started praying together and just in the strangest little things because she had a daughter that had all sorts of health issues, and I had a granddaughter who had some of the same kind of issues.
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
started praying for each other, and the more we did that, then the more we talked and the more we connected. And then we started doing Bible studies together, and little by little things just came together. And one day as I was praying, I have always been involved with co-writes. My very first co-write was with Judith Pella. She helped take me on and introduced me to Bethany House and just
Yeah. Yeah.
we had an amazing time of co-writing. I had read so much of her stuff and realized that we had very similar styles. And co-writing with Judith Pella, then I co-wrote with Judith Miller and James Scott Bell and even my own daughter. But, God brought us to this place then when I felt like he was laying on my heart that Kim and I should write together. So, I confronted her with it. She was stunned. She told me she never in a million years had anticipated that I would do that. But it has been a wonderful,
Mhm.
wonderful time together and just a blessing through and through because, writing is such a deeply personal thing that you do
Yes,
by yourself.
it
And
is.
so when you have a co-writer, it's kind of a nice break from that. You get to talk to each other, you brainstorm about one book in particular and work together and work through all the details. So for Kim and I, writing together has proven to just be a really fun sideline to our friendship.
Do you see any more on the horizon? Are there already
Always.
okay.
Always. In fact, Kim and I are journeying back to Alaska in the next series that we're producing. So
When is this? Oh, you've got
that
to tell me now. Don't leave me hanging.
book one will come out next year.
Okay.
I think about probably May or whatever. But we're returning to Curry, Alaska, where
Okay.
they had put together a hotel for the midway stop on the Alaskan Railroad. And so we're combining that with some people from the Gnome series. So we'll have a couple of series that marry together in this new series.
Well, I was waiting for you to say you were gonna combine it with some of her villains from like 74.
There are going to be some villains, but I already have seen a little bit, we are working on it right now and her villains are shining through. So
Oh, well, I look forward to having you guys come back and talk about the new Alaska series.
that would be a lot of fun.
We would love that. So we only have a few minutes left. So talk to me about, I know you have another new book coming out, and for all of those who are getting to know you on this show, but my Instagram followers already know all about you and love you. So let's do a couple sneak peeks for them on the Instagram page.
Absolutely. Well, July 1, book two in the Hope of Cheyenne series comes out. It's called Designed with Love.
Mhm.
And as with all the books in the Cheyenne series, it stands alone, but there are threads of characters that have been in other stories. So
Mhm.
each book focuses on a new couple and problems and issues that they'll face. This book's a humdinger. I've got a wild card for a heroine who just doesn't see a purpose in being a Christian when the story starts, because Christians don't have fun. We all just sit
Oh,
around, pray and sing dirges and be sad all the time, or serious. And so
serious. Yeah.
she just, as a kid, she just didn't want to be a Christian, didn't want any part of religion. She wants to go have fun in life. And
Mm,
so she is a little bit of a wild card, but tragedy hits in a big way and she has to reevaluate. And of course, there's a hero who comes alongside, and he has an amazing little sister who
mhm.
has learning disabilities that everybody gave up on, but Rosie really kind of steals the story at times. And so she will be in this story and it's set in the late 1880s
Okay.
in Cheyenne. So I invite the readers to join in, and even if you haven't read book one in the series, you will enjoy book two, I think.
I have to ask you one other quick question, and I know we didn't talk about this before, but I know you have to have at least a couple Christmas books up your sleeve that have been published. Because as we head into July, it's all things Americana, but I
Absolutely.
have to say, what kind of Christmas and July books can we recommend to people?
Well, I got a new one this year, a collection. It's on a midnight clear, and it's with Karen Whittemer and Misty Beller.
Okay.
And so we all three took just a little touch of Christmassy theme. Mine's the shepherd's angel, and talked about the nativity and kind of have just a little tie-ins with the those kind of things for our stories. But that comes out in September from Bethany House
Oh, wonder, and what's it called again? Just
on a midnight clear.
on a midnight clear. Okay, perfect. Well, Tracie Peterson, I am so honored to know you. Thank you for being here at the All American Book Club. And we're sending warm wishes to Kim and all the new things that she has going on in her space. But we're so thankful for just the powerful team that you guys have presented with Kalispell and Unexpected Grace. And so I just want to send everybody out to go just go order Tracie Peterson. Just Google her on Amazon and just start clicking order, 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 and you'll be set for the rest of the summer, to say the least.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. And they
Uh,
can get a hold of me through my website, which is just traciepeterson.com.
it's Tracie, Tracie. I want to
Yes.
make sure people know the spelling. So
Yes.
awesome. Well, Tracie Peterson, thank you so much for being here at the All American Book Club.
Thank you for having me.
For all those who are tuning in, stay tuned for our next segment. We'll be right back.